Tom was always careful with machines. He loved fixing things, engines, weapons, broken panels, anything with screws and wires. After the long war, humans and aliens now worked side by side, and Tom had taken a job at a joint military outpost near the edge of Velari space. Most days were quiet. He repaired drones and armor for both species. Some Velari soldiers didn't trust humans, but they needed help, and Tom never asked questions. That morning, he received a request. One of the alien warriors had damaged her armor during a mountain patrol. Her name was Mira, and she was unlike the others. She didn't talk much. Her movements were calm. While most Velari stood tall and proud, Mira always looked like she was watching everything. Some said she had fought in the last battle of the war, but no one knew for sure. When Mira entered the workshop, Tom looked up from his bench. She wore her dark silver armor, scorched along the side. "I heard you're the best with armor," Mira said softly. Tom nodded. "I'll do my best." She placed the armor chest plate on the table. The left panel was cracked. Small wires sparked near the joint, and the energy seal had failed. Tom pulled on his gloves and began his work. Mira stood nearby, silent. She didn't leave like most soldiers did. She watched closely, her silver eyes fixed on every tool he used. "You don't trust me?" Tom asked, trying to keep his voice light. "I just want to make sure it works," she replied. Her voice was flat, but not cold. Tom smiled to himself and focused. The inside of the armor was complicated. Velari tech was smooth and advanced, using small energy circuits made from rare metals. As he unscrewed one of the inner plates, he noticed something strange under a thin metal layer. There was a symbol. It looked like a flame trapped inside a circle, surrounded by tiny ancient letters. It pulsed with a soft blue light, almost hidden from view. "What's this?" he asked out loud, brushing away some dust. The moment his finger touched the symbol, Mira's entire body tensed. She stepped forward quickly, grabbing the armor plate from the table. "Don't touch that," she said sharply. Her tone had changed. It was no longer calm. Tom raised his hands. "I didn't mean anything. I just saw a mark." Mira stared at him for a long second. Her eyes weren't just silver now. They were full of something else, fear. She held the armor close to her chest and stepped back. "You didn't see anything," she said. "But I did," Tom replied slowly. She shook her head. "Forget it. This repair is over." Then, without another word, she turned and left the workshop. Walking fast down the hall, Tom stood frozen. That wasn't normal behavior. He had worked with many soldiers, even some Velari commanders, but none had ever reacted like that. It wasn't just a private symbol. It was something more. He cleaned up his tools slowly, but his thoughts kept returning to the strange mark in Mira's reaction. Why would a soldier panic like that over a hidden design? Later that day, he searched the base archives. Most files were locked, but he still had access to some public records. He searched through Velari history and armor designs, hoping to find the symbol. He found nothing. No modern armor matched that inner symbol. Then he stumbled across something buried in an old war file. It was a record from the last days of the Velari Civil War. The symbol was there, barely visible on a damaged flag. The file listed it as a royal lineage crest, lost house, royal. That couldn't be right. Tom leaned back in his chair. Mira was a soldier, not a queen. The Velari Empire had no living royals left, or so everyone believed. The war had erased their bloodlines. Was she hiding something that dangerous? That night, Tom couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her expression. The fear in her eyes when she saw him touch the mark. It wasn't anger. It wasn't pride. It was the kind of fear people have when something hidden is suddenly exposed. In the morning, Mira didn't return. Her armor was gone. The next days passed in silence. Tom went about his work, but she didn't show up again. Finally, on the third night, he found something strange in his toolbox. A small piece of metal, folded like a note. It had one sentence etched in Velari script. "If you speak of the mark, they will come for both of us." His hand froze. He looked around the empty workshop, heart beating faster. Who were they? And why would they care? Tom realized one thing. He was now involved in something far bigger than a simple armor repair. And Mira, she wasn't just a quiet soldier anymore. Tom sat at his workbench, turning the folded piece of metal over and over in his hand. The message from Mira was clear, but it left too many questions. If you speak of the mark, they will come for both of us. Who were they? Why was the symbol hidden? And why did Mira react like she was being hunted? He hadn't told anyone. Not yet. But the longer he stayed quiet, the deeper it felt like he was falling into something secret. Something dangerous. After another hour of staring at nothing, Tom stood up and locked his toolbox. He needed answers. He couldn't just sit and wait. He headed to the restricted archive terminal near the command center. He didn't have full access, but he knew the system well enough to search around the limits. The station was quiet, and only a few guards walked the halls. Tom entered the room and closed the door behind him. He typed slowly, using key phrases: Velari Royal Mark, Lost Bloodlines, House of Fire. He tried everything that matched the flamed symbol he had seen. At first, nothing came up. Most files were either deleted or sealed. But then he found a report buried in a translated human document. It mentioned a royal house called Tyvran, said to be wiped out during the last civil war. Their crest was a flame in a circle, surrounded by sacred Velari writing. The document was over 30 years old. One note stood out. It said the last confirmed member of House Tyvran was a child, believed dead during the siege of the mountain fortress. Nobody had ever been recovered. Tom sat back slowly. Could Mira be that child? Could she have survived and grown up hidden among soldiers? His thoughts were broken by the door clicking open. A tall figure stepped in, a Velari officer named Varek. His uniform was perfect, his posture too stiff to be casual. "You're working late," Varek said, walking in without invitation. Tom quickly shut down the screen. "Just catching up on repair schedules." Varek smiled slightly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Strange. The schedules were updated this morning." Tom forced a smile. "I like double-checking. Keeps things running smooth." The officer glanced at the terminal, then back at Tom. "Be careful. Not all records are meant to be read. Even for engineers." Tom nodded slowly. "Of course." Varek turned and left without another word. The door slid shut behind him. Tom sat in silence for a long time. His heart pounded. Varek had known. Somehow, he had known Tom was looking into something. Maybe he even knew about Mira. If he did, then others might too. That night, Tom returned to his quarters and found his drawers open. Nothing was stolen, but someone had searched through them. He checked his datapad. Someone had tried to unlock it. Someone was watching him now. Later, just before midnight, a soft knock came at his door. He opened it slowly and found no one there, but something was left on the floor, a tool disc, the kind used only in the hangar. A small symbol had been scratched into its surface, the same royal flame. It was a message. Tom slipped on his jacket and moved quickly through the halls. Most of the base was asleep. He used a side path to reach the cargo hangar. It was dimly lit and quiet, the hum of machines echoing through the large chamber. Behind a row of crates, Mira stepped out of the shadows. She wasn't wearing her armor. Instead, she wore a black cloak that covered her fully. Her eyes were alert. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. "You came," she said. "You left a message." Tom replied, "People are watching me now." "I know," Mira said. "You shouldn't have searched the archives. It's not safe." Tom crossed his arms. "I need to know what that mark was." "You panic like it could destroy your life." "It can," she said quietly. "It already changed mine." Tom waited. Mira took a breath and began. "That symbol is real. It's a royal crest. My family wore it once. Before the war, we ruled a province far in the east. When the Civil War came, many houses were destroyed. My family was attacked. I was just a child. I was taken by loyal guards to a secret colony. They erased my name, hid my identity, and raised me as a soldier." Tom listened, eyes wide. "So it's true. You're royalty." "Not anymore," she said. "My house is gone. My name is gone. If they find out who I am, they'll erase me again. This time, for good. Tom shook his head. Why hide the symbol in your armor? It was built by one of my old guardians. Mira said, he said if I ever needed to prove my identity, that Mark would show the truth. But it only reacts to human tools, like yours. I didn't know it would activate. Tom thought for a moment. Then why tell me this now? Because you saw it, Mira said. And someone else knows you did. Varek, Tom nodded. He visited me. Gave me a warning. Then we're running out of time, Mira whispered. Varek isn't just a soldier. He's part of the old rebellion that destroyed my family. He's been looking for me for years. Tom took a step closer. Then we need to leave. You can't stay here. Mira looked at him. Her eyes were soft now. Not afraid, just tired. There's a hidden ship under the lower hangar. It's old, but it can fly. I'll meet you there tomorrow night. Tom nodded. I'll be there. She turned to go, but stopped. Thank you, she said. For what? Tom asked. For not betraying me. She said, most would have run. Then she slipped back into the shadows and disappeared. Tom stood alone in the hangar. Staring into the dark, everything had changed. This wasn't just about armor anymore. It was about history, survival, and trust. And tomorrow, they would run. Tom stayed awake all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Mira's face in the shadows. Her voice echoed in his mind. Varek has been looking for me for years. The secret was bigger than he ever expected. He had only fixed a piece of armor, but now he was holding the truth about a lost Velarier. He packed only the things he needed, a small toolkit, a datapad, and an energy scanner. No one could see him prepare. Not now. Not when every step was being watched. He avoided the main halls. He used maintenance tunnels and old stairways to move between levels. The lower hangar wasn't used often. Most ships were docked in the upper bay, only scrap vessels and unused. Transports were left below. When he reached the lower deck, the lights were dim. One of the floor panels had been shifted. A corner was raised, just slightly. Tom knelt and found a hatch hidden beneath old cargo crates. He pried it open. Inside, a narrow ladder led into a dark space. He climbed down without hesitation. The room below was small but wide enough to hide a compact ship. Dust covered most of the surfaces, and old tarps hung from the ceiling. But in the center was a black ship, shaped like a blade, with faded markings along its side. Velari design, fast, silent. Mira was already there. She was wearing light armor now. Not her old one. This was older, shaped differently. No rank symbols. Her face was calm, but her hands moved quickly as she ran checks on the ship's systems. You found it, she said without turning. You said you'd be here, Tom replied. Mira looked over her shoulder. Everything is ready. We launch. Tonight, Tom stepped forward and looked at the ship. Where will we go? There's a neutral moon called Vera, Mira said. It's far, but safe. Old friends of my family live there. If they still remember me, they can help. Tom nodded slowly. And if they don't, then we keep running, she said. Until we find someone who does. They worked together for hours. Tom fixed a damaged coolant line while Mira prepared the nav system. The ship had been hidden for years, but the core still worked. It had been waiting, just like her. Why did your people hide you? Tom asked as he tightened a panel. Mira paused. Because the war destroyed everything. My family refused to join the rebellion. We believed in unity, not control. When we spoke out, they came for us. My parents died protecting the last stronghold. I was taken away by loyal guards. I've lived in silence ever since. Tom looked at her. And now they know you're alive. Mira nodded. Varek was part of the rebellion. He was young back then, but ruthless. I don't know how he got this far, but if he finds me again, he won't let me go. Tom finished his work and stood up. Then we don't let him find you. A soft alarm buzzed from the console. Mira checked the monitor and frowned. They activated a base scan, she said. They're looking for unauthorized tech, probably. Checking for signals from this ship. Tom moved to the control panel. I can mask the signal for a few minutes. But after that, we have to go. Mira nodded. Help me start the engine. They worked fast. The engine hummed as power returned. The lights flickered, and the navigation screen came to life. Suddenly, a loud knock echoed from above. Someone was in the hangar. Tom froze. Mira grabbed a blade from her belt and pointed to the corner. Hide, she whispered. Tom slipped behind a large crate while Mira stood near the ship, calm and still. The hatch above creaked open. Varric stepped down. Slowly, 2 soldiers behind him. His eyes scanned the room. Strange place to find a soldier, he said. I come here to train. Mira replied. In a hidden ship, Varric asked, walking closer. It's broken, Mira said. Just an old memory. Varric stopped. His eyes moved across the ship's hull. This model was used by nobles during the war. Mira stayed silent. Varric smiled. You've been hiding something. Mira's grip tightened on her blade. Tom reached for his toolkit. He had 1 stun patch left, enough to take down 1 guard if needed. But he had to act fast. Varric stepped closer to Mira. You thought you could escape? You think a name gives you power. The rebellion erased your bloodline for a reason. Mira's eyes stayed locked on his. You were never strong enough to lead. That's why you killed from the shadows. Varric raised his hand, but Tom moved first. He threw the stun patch at the nearest soldier. It hit the man's shoulder and sparked. The soldier dropped with a loud thud. Mira moved at the same time. She swept her blade and struck the second guard across the arm, making him fall back. Varric growled and reached for his sidearm, but Mira kicked it away. Tom ran forward and tackled the last guard as Mira held her blade to Varric's neck. You lost the war, she said. You won't win again. Varric hissed. They'll come for you. Let them try, she replied. She struck him on the head with the hilt of her blade, knocking him out. They didn't wait. Tom and Mira jumped into the ship and sealed the hatch. Engines roared to life. The lower doors opened, metal groaning. From years of rust. The ship lifted. They blasted into the night sky. Space opened around them, wide and dark. Stars lit the path ahead. Mira sat in the pilot's seat, breathing hard. Tom looked at her. We made it. For now, she said. But this is just the beginning. Tom leaned back in his seat. He had never planned to leave the base, never planned to run from soldiers or escape in stolen ships. But now he had a mission. He wasn't just an engineer anymore. He was the only one who knew the truth about a girl who was more than a soldier, a girl born to lead. The ship moved through space like a ghost. Its black surface reflected no light, and its engine was quiet. Tom sat beside Mira, watching stars blur past the front screen. He had never traveled like this before. His hands were still shaking from what had happened in the hangar. Mira kept her eyes on the screen. Her face looked calm, but Tom could tell she was tired, maybe more than tired. How far is Vera? Tom asked. About 3 jumps, Mira replied. The ship can make 2. After that, we'll need to refuel. Tom checked the power levels. She was right. The ship had been hidden for too long. Some systems were stable, but others needed repairs soon. I can reroute energy to the jump drive. Tom said, it'll give us more distance. Do it, Mira said. But save enough for the shields. If Orcs sends scouts, we'll need to protect ourselves. Tom nodded and got to work. His fingers moved fast across the controls. Wires, codes, and circuits were easier than people. They never lied, never panicked, never carried royal secrets. He glanced at Mira again. Her eyes stayed forward, locked on the black path ahead. You knew Varric would follow, Tom said after a while. I hoped he wouldn't, Mira replied. But I was prepared if he did. Tom leaned back. How long have you been preparing for this? Mira's hands rested on the controls. Since I turned 15. That's when I learned the truth. Before that, I was just another soldier. Why didn't you run then? Tom asked. Because running alone never changes anything, she said. I needed someone who could help me, someone I could trust. Tom was silent. He didn't ask if that someone was him. He didn't need to. After an hour, they reached the first jump point. Mira entered the codes. The ship shook slightly, and the stars outside twisted. Light bent, space folded around them. They jumped. When the light faded, they were in another system. A quiet place. No ships, no signals, just an old satellite floating near a dark moon. Tom exhaled slowly. We made it, but Mira's face didn't relax. What's wrong? Tom asked. She pointed to the screen. That satellite isn't part of this system. It's military, human, and Valari design. It's scanning us. Tom looked closer. The satellite rotated slowly. A small red light blinked at its base. It's a tracking post. Mira said, they set it up to watch this path. You think Varric sent it? Maybe not him, but someone working with him. Tom frowned. What do? We fly around it, she said. Quiet. No engine bursts. Tom helped guide the ship along a wide curve. They passed behind a small asteroid belt. The satellite kept spinning but didn't react. No alarms. No signals. They stayed silent until they were clear. That was too close. Tom muttered. Mira nodded. The deeper we go, the more eyes will follow. They continued for hours. When the next jump point neared, Tom checked the ship's systems. Again, we've got one jump left, he said. After that, the drive needs a full recharge. Mira tapped the console. There's an old supply station ahead, abandoned during the war. If it's still standing, we can land there. Tom raised an eyebrow. How do you know about it? I was trained there when I was young, Mira said. It was a hidden base for royal forces. Few people know it. Exists. They made the jump. The stars twisted again. The moment they arrived, Tom saw it, a large station floating between two small planets. The structure was broken in places. Parts of it drifted, no longer connected. But the core section still had power. Mira guided the ship toward the docking ring. They entered slowly. No response. No lights flashing. Just silence. Inside, the station felt like a graveyard. Dust floated in the air. Panels flickered. Old banners with faded symbols hung along the walls. Tom stepped out first, scanning the area. No life signs. Mira followed, her boots silent on the metal floor. She looked around like someone walking through memories. This was my home for 5 years, she said. They trained us here, taught us how to fight, how to hide. Tom looked at her. Did they teach you to run, too? Mira shook her head. No. Then I had to learn on my own. They found the power room and began charging the ship. The station's reactor still worked, but only just. Tom worked quickly. Time was short. Suddenly, Mira froze. What is it? Tom asked. She pointed to a wall. A fresh boot print, not covered in dust. Someone else was here, she said, recently. Tom's heart jumped. Do you think they're still here? I don't know, she said. Stay close. They moved through the halls, checking each room. Most were empty. One door was locked. Mira used her blade to cut it open. Inside was a small camp, empty food packs, a heat lamp, and a signal beacon, still warm. Tom stepped forward and checked. The beacon, it was used yesterday, he said. Someone called for help. Mira stared at the device. Then someone already told them we're here. Tom looked at her. We need to go. 5 more minutes, she said. The ship needs that power. They returned to the dock. Tom watched the charge level rise, 80%. 90. A sound echoed through the station. Footsteps, not one. Many. Mira drew her blade. Tom grabbed a metal rod. We hold until it's ready, Mira said. Shadows appeared at the far end. Armored figures moved silently. Not full soldiers, hunters. One of them stepped forward. A tall figure in black gear. His voice rang out. Give her to us, and we let you live. Tom stepped in front of Mira. Not happening. The man raised a weapon. Mira didn't wait. She moved fast, spinning and striking. Tom followed, blocking and dodging. It was chaos. Metal hit metal. Sparks flew. Tom knocked down one hunter. Mira struck another with her blade. The dock shook. Ship's ready. Tom shouted. They ran inside and sealed the door. Mira activated the engine. The hunters fired, but the ship launched before they could stop it. As they escaped. Tom looked back. The station faded behind them. The past was falling away, and ahead, the future waited. The ship sped through the dark space. leaving the old supply station far behind. Tom and Mira sat side by side in the cockpit, still catching their breath from the fight. The red warning lights had stopped flashing. The quiet hum of the engine filled the cabin. "We can't stop," Mira said, her voice steady but low. "They will keep coming." Tom nodded. "Where to now?" Mira opened a small map on the console. It showed a hidden network of tunnels beneath a nearby asteroid field. "There's a safe place there, an old rebel hideout. It's far from any major station." Tom studied the map. The asteroid field was dense, full of sharp rocks and narrow paths. "Flying through that won't be easy." Mira gave a small smile. "If you can fly through the base, you can fly through that." Tom laughed quietly, then turned serious. "We'll need a plan." The ship moved closer to the asteroid field. Outside the window, countless gray rocks floated in silence. Some were as small as pebbles. Others were larger than buildings. Mira's hands tightened around the controls. "They won't expect us here." Tom started the navigation system. "I'll take the controls. You keep watch for pursuers." Mira nodded. She checked the ship's sensors. "I see no one nearby, but they could be hiding." Tom gripped the controls. The ship slowed and slipped toward the opening between the rocks. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready." Tom guided the ship through the first narrow passage. The rocks were close. One wrong move could tear the hull. Sweat formed on Tom's forehead. He focused on every detail. The distance between rocks, the ship's speed, the angle of turns. Suddenly, the ship jolted. A small asteroid hit the left wing. "Damage report." Tom said quickly. "Minor," Mira answered. Shields held. Tom breathed out. The worst was yet to come. The path grew narrower. He twisted the controls, dodging between two massive rocks. The ship's engines roared louder. Behind them, a flash appeared on the radar. A small fleet of ships was chasing them. "They found us," Tom said. Mira's eyes narrowed. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." Tom pushed the ship harder, weaving between asteroids. Using every trick he knew from his time at the base. The pursuers fired. Lasers sliced through space, lighting up the darkness. One beam grazed the ship's hull. Tom gritted his teeth. Shields holding. For now. Mira scanned them. Radar again. "They are fast but not used to this field. We can lose them if we keep moving." Tom nodded. "Let's make them sweat." He spun the ship sharply, diving through a narrow gap between two huge asteroids. The pursuers followed but crashed into the rocks. Down, Mira said, relief in her voice. Tom smiled slightly but kept his eyes on the path. The chase was not over. After several tense minutes, the pursuers disappeared from the radar. Tom slowed the ship and checked the damage. Nothing critical, he said. Mira looked out the window. "We made it." The ship entered a hidden cave system inside a large asteroid. The tunnels were dark, but the ship's lights lit the way. They landed smoothly on a small platform deep inside. Tom and Mira stepped out. The air was recycled and clean, but the place felt empty. "This is the rebel hideout," Mira said. "Few know about it. It's been abandoned for years, but it's safe." Tom looked around. Walls were scratched with old symbols and names. Some were faded, but others were fresh. Suddenly, they heard footsteps. A group of figures appeared from the shadows. Mira raised her hands. "We come in peace." One of the figures stepped forward, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. I am Tira," she said, "leader of this group. We heard your ship. You are the Villari heir." Mira nodded. "Yes. And this is Tom. He helped me escape." Tira smiled. "You are welcome here. We remember your family." Tom felt a wave of relief. "Thank you." Tira gestured toward a small room. "We have supplies and weapons. You will rest here." As they settled in, Mira shared what she knew about the rebellion and the enemies chasing her. Tira listened carefully. "Varric is dangerous. He controls many who want to keep the Villari divided. But you have allies now." Tom looked at Mira. "What will you do next?" Mira's eyes were firm. "We will gather strength. Find others who remember the old times. Then we will fight back." Tom nodded. "I will help you." That night, Tom sat alone near the ship. He looked at the stars through the open hatch. He thought about the hidden mark, the secret identity. and the dangers ahead. But for the first time, he felt hope. Mira was not alone anymore. She had friends, and he had found a purpose beyond fixing machines. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together. The rebel hideout was quiet at first light. The small group gathered around a rough table made from scrap metal. Tira stood at the head, her face serious as she spoke to Mira and Tom. "We have few ships and limited weapons," Tira said. "Vorrex forces control much of the nearby systems. We need more allies if we want to challenge him." Mira nodded. "I have a plan. We start by sending messages to loyal Valari families. Some survive the war and hide in remote places." Tom looked at her. "How do you know they will help?" "Because they remember the old days," Mira said. "And because they want peace," Tira smiled. "Then we begin." Tom helped prepare the communication arrays. The old station systems were dusty and slow, but with Mira's guidance, they worked. Tom was amazed how fast the technology could still connect across light years. While they sent messages, Mira trained the rebels. She showed them moves she had learned in the military, fast, silent, and efficient. Tom watched in awe. Mira was not just a leader by blood. She was a warrior by skill. Days passed, but no answers came. The waiting was hard. Tom spent time repairing the ship and station systems. He wished he could do more. One evening, Mira called a meeting. Her face was grave. "We have news," she said. One of the families answered. "They live on the planet Cora. It will be dangerous, but it is our best chance." Tira nodded. "We prepare for the journey." Tom helped load the ship with supplies, weapons, food, and fuel. The rebels said goodbye to the station. Some looked hopeful, others worried. Mira stayed silent. She touched the hidden mark on her armor under her jacket. It was her family's legacy. The symbol was not just a secret. It was a promise. The ship lifted off and jumped through space again. This time, the trip was smooth. No pursuers followed. When they reached Cora, the planet was covered in green forests and blue oceans. But the landing zone was hidden in a dense jungle. The rebels moved quickly, careful not to be seen. They reached a small village surrounded by tall trees. Mira stepped forward. "We come as friends," she said. The village leader, an older Valari woman named Sela, appeared. Her eyes were sharp but kind. "We heard about you," Sela said. "Many of us remember the days before the war." Mira showed her the mark. Sela gasped. "The lost heir." Sela welcomed them into the village. The people were cautious but respectful. They shared food and stories of the past. Tom felt a strange warmth. These people had lived in fear but kept hope alive. That night, Mira and Tom talked by a fire. "You think this will work?" Tom asked. Mira stared at the flames. "It must, if Varric wins." Everything ends. Suddenly, distant lights appeared. Between the trees, torches, figures moving fast, enemies, Mira whispered. The village was under attack. Tom grabbed his weapon. Mira stood ready, her eyes fierce. The rebels and villagers fought side by side. Laser blasts cut the night. Screams echoed through the forest. Tom fired at the attackers, protecting Mira as she moved through the chaos. She fought like a storm, swift and unstoppable. The attackers were mercenaries sent by Varric to scare the village and stop the Alliance. After a long fight, the attackers retreated. Many were wounded, but the village stood. Mira knelt beside a fallen rebel. "We will not run anymore." Tom nodded. "This is the start." The villagers looked to Mira with new hope. The hidden mark was not just a symbol of the past. It was the key to their future. Together, they would fight to restore peace. The battle at the village marked a turning point. Word spread quickly. More Valari and human rebels joined the cause. The name of Mira, the lost heir, grew stronger. She was no longer just a secret soldier. She was a symbol of hope. Days passed. In a whirlwind of preparation and planning, Mira and Tom worked side by side with the villagers and rebels, training new fighters, fixing ships, and sending messages to distant allies. Tira remained their strategist, always calm, guiding their small army with wisdom beyond her years. One morning, a scout arrived with urgent news. Varroc's main fleet was moving fast toward Korra. They planned to crush the rebellion before it could grow. Mira looked out from the cliff above the village, watching the stars. The enemy ships glowed in the distance, a threatening shadow against the dark sky. "We must be ready," she said. "This is our battle." Tom stood beside her, heart heavy but steady. "Do you think we can win?" Mira turned, her eyes fierce. "We don't have to win. We only have to survive long enough for others to join us." She walked down to the village square. The rebels gathered, their faces filled with fear and hope. Mira spoke clearly, her voice strong. "Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for all who want peace. The mark I carry is not just a symbol. It is a promise to protect our people. Stand with me." The crowd cheered. As the enemy fleet closed in, the rebels prepared their defenses. The village's hidden tunnels and asteroid caves became strongholds. Fighters took positions on the hills and forests. Tom worked in the command center, repairing communication devices and coordinating with scouts. Hours passed. The enemy fleet entered the system, ships spreading like a dark storm. The battle began. Laser fire lit the skies. Explosions shook the ground. The rebels fought fiercely, using every trick and skill Mira taught them. Tom helped operate a heavy turret, firing at enemy fighters. The noise was deafening, but he focused on the target. Mira moved through the battlefield, inspiring her fighters. Her presence lifted spirits and gave strength. Despite being outnumbered, the rebels held their ground. Varroc's fleet underestimated them. Suddenly, a signal came through the comms. "Allied ships are arriving," a scout said. "We are not alone." From the darkness, warships appeared, human and Velari warships sent by other rebel groups who believed in Mira's cause. The tide turned. Varroc's fleet faltered and began to retreat. Cheers rose from the village. After the battle, Mira stood before the gathered fighters and villagers. "We won this day," she said. "But this is only the start. We will rebuild. We will unite, and one day, the Velari will be whole again." Tom smiled beside her. He had come a long way from fixing armor to fighting for a future. The hidden mark on Mira's armor was no longer a secret. It was a beacon, a symbol of courage and hope. The lost princess had returned. And humanity, standing with her, would help build a new dawn.